Dad, slow down. The voice came from the back seat. 7-year-old Lily was staring out the windshield into the darkness ahead. There's a man standing in the road. Daniel tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The rural highway stretched ahead of them, empty, quiet, and completely dark. He could see nothing. No headlights, no houses, no people. Just the long ribbon of asphalt disappearing into the night. "Sweetheart, there's no one there," he said gently. But Lily's voice didn't change. "He's right there." And because of that one sentence, Daniel tapped the brakes. Seconds later, his headlights revealed something that made his stomach drop. A massive, fallen tree lay across the road, completely blocking the highway. If they had been driving at full speed, they would have hit it. But what Daniel would spend years trying to understand was something else. Because when he looked back down the road, there was no man anywhere. And what Lily said next chilled him even more. "He's gone now." What happened that night would leave the entire family wondering if someone or something had been watching over them. But to understand how it happened, we need to rewind to the beginning of that drive. The Carter family hadn't planned to be driving that late, but family gatherings have a way of stretching longer than expected. By the time Daniel pulled their SUV onto the highway, the dashboard clock read 11:42 p.m. The road home cut through miles of quiet countryside, long stretches of forest, scattered farmhouses, and very little traffic after dark. Daniel didn't mind the drive. He actually liked the silence of late-night roads. Maria sat beside him, scrolling through photos on her phone from the evening. In the back seat, Evan had already fallen asleep, his head resting against the window. Only Lily remained awake. She had her face pressed against the glass, watching the darkness slide past outside. The headlights carved a narrow tunnel through the night, illuminating the asphalt and the trees that crowded the roadside. Beyond that beam of light, everything disappeared into blackness. Daniel adjusted the radio volume lower. A soft song played quietly through the speakers. For several minutes, no one spoke. Then Lily leaned forward slightly between the seats. "Dad?" Daniel glanced briefly at the rearview mirror. "Yeah, kiddo." Her voice sounded thoughtful. "Why would someone stand in the road at night?" Daniel frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Lily kept staring straight ahead. "There's a man up there." Daniel's eyes flicked to the windshield again. The road looked exactly the same as it had for the past several miles. Empty. "Where?" he asked. "Right there." She pointed forward. Daniel leaned forward slightly, squinting into the darkness. Still nothing. Just asphalt stretching ahead. Maria turned halfway around in her seat. "Sweetie, there's no one there." But Lily didn't look confused. She didn't look scared either. She simply kept watching the road ahead. "Yes, there is." Her small finger lifted again. "He's standing in the middle." Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the calm certainty in her voice. Or maybe it was the simple instinct every parent feels when their child insists something isn't right. He eased his foot slightly off the gas. The SUV slowed. And as the vehicle crept forward, the headlights pushed farther down the highway. Then, suddenly, The beam of light caught something. Daniel's stomach dropped. Across the road, lying completely sideways across both lanes, was the thick trunk of a fallen tree. Daniel's foot slammed the brake. The SUV lurched slightly as the tires gripped the pavement, coming to a stop just yards from the massive tree trunk stretched across the highway. For a moment, no one spoke. The engine hummed quietly. Outside, the forest was completely still. Maria leaned forward, staring through the windshield. Oh my God! The tree was enormous. Its trunk was thick and heavy, the kind that must have taken decades to grow. Fresh splinters along the broken base suggested it had fallen recently. If Daniel had been driving just a little faster, the realization crept slowly into his mind. At highway speed, they would have struck it head-on. The hood would have crumpled. The windshield would have shattered. Daniel exhaled slowly, trying to steady himself. Then something else occurred to him. He turned slightly in his seat. Lily. She was still leaning forward between the seats. Where's the man now? She looked out the windshield again. For several seconds she said nothing. Then she answered quietly. He's gone. Maria turned fully toward her. Gone where? Lily shrugged gently. I don't know. Daniel shifted the car into park. Stay here. Maria grabbed his arm. Daniel, wait! But he had already opened the door. The cold night air rushed in. Daniel stepped onto the road and walked slowly toward the fallen tree. The headlights illuminated the trunk in sharp white light. Leaves and branches stretched into the darkness on both sides. He looked down the highway. Nothing. No footsteps. No car. No person walking away. He turned around slowly, scanning the empty road behind them. Still nothing. Just the quiet hum of the engine and the soft rustling of trees in the breeze. Daniel walked closer to the tree, studying it. Fresh bark, broken wood. It must have fallen only minutes earlier. And if Lily hadn't said anything, Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Behind him, the SUV's headlights cast long shadows across the road. But there was no man standing in them. Daniel walked back toward the SUV slowly. Maria had opened her door halfway. Did you see anyone? He shook his head. No. Maybe they walked off the road? Maybe. But the answer didn't feel convincing. Daniel leaned down slightly toward Lily through the open door. Can you tell me something? She nodded. The man you saw, what did he look like? Lily didn't hesitate. He was tall. Daniel waited. What else? He was wearing a coat. What color? Dark. Maria frowned slightly. It's pretty dark out there, honey. Are you sure you saw someone? Lily turned toward her mother. Yes. Then she added something that made Daniel pause. He was waving. Waving? She nodded. Like this. She lifted her arm and slowly moved it side to side. Daniel felt another chill creep up his back. Why was he waving? Lily thought for a moment. I think he wanted you to slow down. The words hung in the air.
Daniel glanced back at the empty road again. He imagined what would have happened if they had come around the bend at full speed. There would have been no time to brake, no time to swerve. The tree was too large, too solid, too sudden. The crash would have been unavoidable. Maria crossed her arms slowly. Maybe someone saw the tree fall, she suggested quietly. Maybe they tried to warn cars. Daniel nodded. That's possible. But even as he said it, something bothered him. If someone had been standing there waving, where had they gone so quickly? There were no houses nearby, no cars parked along the road, no flashlight beams in the woods. Just darkness. He looked at Lily again. Are you sure he's gone? She nodded. He left after you slowed down. Daniel felt the weight of those words settle heavily in his chest.
Daniel eventually turned the SUV around. They couldn't move the tree themselves. He drove slowly back down the road until they found a small clearing where his phone finally picked up a signal. A county dispatcher answered after a few rings. Yes, there's a tree completely blocking County Road 14, Daniel explained. Looks like it fell recently. The dispatcher thanked him and said a road crew would be sent. As Daniel hung up the phone, Maria spoke softly. You really think Lily saw someone? Daniel stared out the windshield. I don't know. But if she hadn't... He didn't finish the sentence. They both knew the ending. Evan stirred slightly in the back seat, but didn't wake. Lily had leaned back quietly against her seatbelt. She seemed calm, too calm for a child who had just avoided a serious accident. Daniel started the engine again. Let's take the long way home. Maria nodded. They drove the opposite direction, taking a different road that would add nearly 30 minutes to the trip. For a while, the car remained silent. Then Lily spoke again. Dad? Yes? Do you think he was an angel? Daniel glanced briefly at the mirror. Her eyes looked thoughtful, not frightened, just curious. He didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said quietly, I don't know, kiddo. But whoever he was... Daniel looked back at the dark road stretching behind them. I'm glad he was there. And for the rest of the drive, Daniel couldn't shake one simple question. If Lily had seen the man, why had no one else? Sometimes the most powerful moments in life are the ones we cannot fully explain. A child sees something others cannot. A sudden warning appears at just the right moment. And a disaster that could have happened never does. Was it coincidence? Was someone passing by who simply disappeared before they could be thanked? Or was it something else entirely? A quiet moment of guidance arriving exactly when it was needed. The Carter family never found the man Lily described, but every time Daniel drives that road at night, he remembers one simple truth. If Lily hadn't spoken up, they might never have made it home. And that's a reminder many people carry with them through life. Sometimes help appears in ways we don't fully understand. If you've ever experienced a moment where something unseen seemed to guide your life, share your story in the comments. And if stories like this remind you that hope can appear in the darkest moments, like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and follow Lanes and Lanterns for more stories where fate, timing, and the unseen quietly change lives.